It always begins the same way, my friends. You put in the effort, you showed the care, and you gave them chance after chance. Yet what did you receive? Rejection, cold words, empty stares. Maybe they brushed you off without a thought. Maybe they betrayed your trust, or worse, acted as if you were invisible. That pain builds until one day you reach the breaking point and you tell yourself, enough. I won't chase anymore. In that moment, silence becomes your armor, and for the first time, you feel like you've taken back a piece of yourself. But then comes the itch. That quiet doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels heavy. It feels loud. You lie awake wondering, are they missing me? Do they even think about me? Do they notice I'm gone? And then, like a thief in the night, the most dangerous thought slips in. Maybe I should just break the silence. Just once. A text, a call, a comment, something small to remind them I exist. That is the trap. Because here's the brutal truth, folks. The cost of breaking your silence too early is losing every ounce of power you've built. Silence is not nothing. It's everything. It's louder than shouting. It's sharper than any argument. It's more haunting than any goodbye. When you stay silent, they have no choice but to sit with their own thoughts. They replay your face in their mind. They remember the sound of your voice in the quiet hours. They begin filling in the blanks with imagination. And imagination, my friends, is far more powerful than reality. But the second you break that silence, the mystery vanishes. They know you're still there. They know you couldn't hold the line. And in that moment, all of their growing curiosity, all of their quiet regret, gone. They slip right back into comfort, right back into thinking you'll always be the one waiting. This isn't about playing games. It's about psychology. The mind cannot crave what it cannot miss. Remember that. If you keep showing up, if you keep reminding them you're still available, they will never feel your absence. They will never face the loss. Think of it like planting a seed. Every second you hold your silence, you're letting the roots dig deeper into their mind. You're training their brain to wonder, to miss, to regret. But if you break too soon, it's like digging up the soil before the seed has a chance to sprout. You rob yourself of the harvest. Silence is not weakness, it is power. It's the one thing they did not expect you to have. They thought you'd keep chasing, keep proving yourself, keep bending until you broke. But silence flips the script. Suddenly they are the ones asking, why aren't they chasing me anymore? Why did they stop? Do they not want me anymore? Did they find someone better? That silence eats at them, not in an instant, but slowly, piece by piece, day by day. And that is where your strength lies, my friends. Stay silent long enough, and they always circle back. Break it too early, and you never give their mind the chance to realize what they lost. So stay calm, stay disciplined, stay in control. Don't throw away the power you've earned just to feed your impatience for one moment of relief. The universe rewards the one who holds the line, and I promise you this, they will come back because silence is unforgettable. So let this sink in. Write these words in the comments right now. Silence is power. Press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me, because this is only the beginning. You are stronger than your impulses. You are greater than your doubts. Hold the silence, hold the line, and hold your worth. Always. Number 1. The trap of impulse. My friends, the first battle is always against yourself. The trap of impulse. This is where most people fall. The silence starts to stretch, the hours turn into days, and your mind starts whispering to you, just send one text. Just ask how they're doing. Just break the silence, and maybe you'll feel better. That little voice feels like relief. It feels like closure. but it is a lie. The first urge to reach out is not strength, it is weakness disguised as comfort. And if you give in, you undo all the work you've done to regain your power. Think of it like this: a warrior on the battlefield doesn't throw down their shield just because it feels heavy. They carry it because without it, they're defenseless. Your silence is that shield. At first, it feels like a burden. You want to throw it away, to feel light, to feel free. But the moment you drop it, you expose yourself and your enemy, the one who rejected you, betrayed you, or dismissed your worth, sees you wide open. They know you couldn't hold the line. They know you couldn't endure the storm. And in that instant, they win back control. The first urge is always the strongest. Why? Because your brain craves certainty. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your unconscious fear of being forgotten pushes you toward action. That fear whispers, "If I don't reach out, they'll move on. If I don't remind them, they'll forget me." But here's the truth, folks. People don't forget what made an impact on them. What's unforgettable doesn't need reminders. Silence, when held with discipline, becomes the echo they cannot escape. Let's tell it like a story. You've been rejected again and again. You finally pull back, deciding not to chase anymore. At first, it feels empowering. But then, 2 nights in, you're lying in bed staring at your phone. You imagine them laughing with someone else. You picture them forgetting your face. Your chest tightens, your heart races, and suddenly your finger hovers over their name. What if I just send one message? That moment right there is the trap, because if you press send, you've given them proof. Proof that you're still waiting, proof that your silence was never true silence. And what happens next? They feel secure. They feel no urgency. They don't have to think about you anymore because you've already told them, without saying it, that you're still there. Impulse destroys mystery, and mystery is the root of desire. Think about it. The books you can't put down, the movies that hold you to the edge of your seat, the people who linger in your mind, they all share one thing. They leave something unanswered. They leave you guessing. Your silence works in the same way. It creates unanswered questions in their mind. Why haven't they reached out? Did they move on? Did they stop caring? Did they find someone else? These questions eat at them in ways a text never could. But if you break silence too soon, the mystery dies. They no longer have to wonder because you answered the question for them. You're still waiting. And my friends, I know it's hard. You ask yourself, but what if they don't miss me? What if my silence doesn't work? What if I lose them forever? That fear is natural. It's the part of you that wants control. But true control comes from letting go. Jung said, "Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling." Wisdom tells you that silence is the only path to awakening their regret. Your feelings may panic, but your mind must remain calm. It's not about whether they notice you today. It's about what happens tomorrow and the next day when your absence grows louder than your presence ever did. Think of silence like the ocean. At first, the tide pulls back slowly and you barely notice, but wait long enough and the waves come crashing back stronger than ever. That is how their thoughts will return to you. But if you break the silence, it's like building a dam that blocks the tide. You stop the natural flow of their regret. You interrupt the process of their longing before it can even reach its peak. So when that impulse rises, when your hand reaches for your phone, pause. Ask yourself, am I seeking truth or am I seeking relief? Relief lasts for a moment, but truth lasts forever. The truth is that breaking silence gives away your power. The truth is that staying silent makes them face themselves, and the truth is that the first urge is always a trick of the mind, not the voice of wisdom. I want you to imagine this. They rejected you, they dismissed you, they turned their back on you. But one day, weeks from now, they're sitting alone, scrolling through their phone. They stop on your name. They notice you haven't called, haven't texted, haven't said a word, and for the first time, they feel it. That sting of absence, that ache of regret, that burning question, why didn't they chase me this time? That moment is your victory. But you only win it if you survive the trap of impulse. So, my friends, breathe deep, stay calm, stay silent. Let your absence speak louder than any words ever could. Don't rob yourself of the reward just to feed your fear in the moment. The first urge is the most dangerous, but once you pass it, you grow stronger. You show yourself what stoic power truly is, calm, disciplined, in control. Write this affirmation in the comments right now. I hold the line. Say it, own it, believe it. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the one who masters silence masters the game. And I promise you, they will remember, they will regret, and they will come back. Number 2. The power of mystery. My friends, let us talk about one of the most powerful forces in attraction, mystery. You see, when you step back and hold your silence, you create a space in their mind that only imagination can fill, and imagination is far stronger than any words you could ever send. Silence builds uncertainty, and uncertainty is what makes the human mind restless. The moment you speak too soon, the mystery collapses. They no longer have to wonder where you stand, because you've given them the answer. And once curiosity dies, so does desire. Think about it. The movies that hold you captive, the books you can't put down, they don't reveal everything at once. They feed you slowly, making you guess, making you wonder what happens next. That tension, that not knowing, is what keeps you hooked. Now apply that same principle to human attraction. When you fall silent after rejection, they start asking questions in the quiet. Why aren't they reaching out? Have they moved on? Do they not care anymore? These questions spin in their mind like a storm, and every possible answer pulls them back to you. But if you break that silence with a text or a call, suddenly there's no storm, only calm. And calm kills curiosity. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Mystery is the spark that creates that reaction. Without it, there's nothing to ignite desire. When you remain silent, you give them space to feel the transformation. They start comparing who you were when you chase them to who you are now, calm, distant, untouchable. That contrast unsettles them. It forces them to look at you differently. It forces them to imagine what you're doing, who you're with, and why you've gone quiet. And the more they imagine, the more power you hold. Picture it like a locked door. When you stay silent, you become that door they cannot open. And you know human nature. People want what they cannot access. They'll keep turning the handle, wondering what's on the other side. But the moment you break silence, it's like swinging the door wide open and saying, "Here I am." And just like that, the tension is gone. The mystery dissolves. What was once compelling becomes ordinary. And my friends, I know the temptation is strong. You ask yourself, but if I don't speak, how will they know I still care? How will they know I'm still thinking about them? But here's the truth. If you have to prove your worth through constant reminders, then they'll never value it. Real value is silent. Diamonds don't scream to be noticed, they simply shine. The same goes for you. Your silence is your shine. It makes them stop and squint, wondering why they can't look away. Let me give you a metaphor. Think about the stars in the night sky. We don't see them during the day because the light is everywhere. But when the sky goes dark, that's when the stars appear. That's when their mystery captures us. Your silence is that darkness. It removes the noise, the constant chatter, the chasing, and in that quiet, you become the star they cannot stop noticing. So remember this, folks. Once you speak too soon, you give them certainty, and certainty breeds comfort. Comfort is the opposite of desire. If you want them to miss you, if you want them to regret, if you want them to circle back, you must let the mystery live. Don't feed their mind with answers. Let their own thoughts do the work, because the questions they ask themselves in your silence will haunt them more than any message you could ever write. Stay disciplined, stay untouchable. Let them wonder, let them question, let them miss you in ways they never thought they could. The power of mystery is the power of attraction itself. Protect it, and you'll see just how deeply it works in your favor. Write this in the comments right now. Mystery is power. Press the like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the more you master silence, the more you master their mind. And in the end, my friends, curiosity will bring them back to you. Number 3. The silent punishment they feel. My friends, silence is not just the absence of words, it is a punishment. Not in a cruel way, but in a way that forces the other person to sit alone with the consequences of their choices. Silence is like a mirror. It reflects their behavior back at them. It confronts them with the reality they tried to avoid, and it makes them feel the weight of what they've lost. When you go silent after rejection, you are not erasing yourself from their memory. Quite the opposite. You are carving yourself deeper into their thoughts, because absence magnifies presence. Think about it this way. When someone has constant access to you, they take you for granted. You're always there to answer, always there to soothe, always there to give. But when you go silent, when you withdraw completely, suddenly there's nothing. That nothingness is louder than anything you could ever say. It makes them notice what used to be there. It forces them to remember the messages, the calls, the laughter, the warmth. And in that stillness, you become unforgettable. Silence does not erase you, it imprints you. Imagine dropping a stone into a lake. The ripples stretch outward long after the stone disappears under the surface. That is your silence. They may not see you, they may not hear from you, but the impact lingers. Every quiet moment in their day becomes a reminder. The chair at the table feels emptier, the phone feels heavier. The silence reminds them of you in ways words never could. And what is punishment, if not the mind replaying its own guilt over and over again? Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we try to ignore but can never truly escape. Your silence awakens their shadow. They must face the truth. They rejected someone who was willing to give. They dismissed someone who carried value. And now, with the silence staring back at them, they cannot escape that truth. This is why silence works, my friends. It forces them into confrontation with themselves. They are not just missing you. They are missing the version of themselves that once had access to you. And I know the doubt creeps in. You might ask, but if I stay silent, won't they forget me? Won't they move on? Let me answer that clearly. No, people forget noise, but they do not forget the absence of it. Noise blends into the background, but silence stands out. Think about walking into a crowded room. You don't remember every voice, but the moment the room goes quiet, you notice it. That's how your silence works. It makes you memorable, not forgettable. This is why breaking silence too soon destroys everything. If you return before they've had time to sit in that emptiness, you rob them of the punishment, you relieve their discomfort, and human nature is simple. They only learn through discomfort. They only change when they feel the sting of loss. Silence delivers that sting over and over again until they cannot ignore it anymore. Let me give you a metaphor, folks. Think about a candle. When it burns, we take its light for granted. But when it suddenly goes out, the darkness reminds us of how much we depended on it. Your silence is that moment of darkness. It makes them realize the light you carried, the warmth you gave. And that realization does not fade. It deepens with every day they sit in the cold. So remember, silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate mirror. It reflects their rejection back at them until they cannot escape it. It reminds them of your presence by magnifying your absence. And it makes them remember you, not as someone desperate or forgotten, but as the one they cannot replace. That is the silent punishment they feel, and it is more powerful than any words of anger or pleading could ever be. Stay calm, stay disciplined, stay silent. Let them sit in the emptiness until the weight of their choices pulls them back toward you. And when they return, they will not be able to deny the truth your silence taught them. You mattered more than they ever admitted. Write this in the comments right now. Silence is strength. Press the like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the silence you hold today is the punishment that plants the seed of their regret tomorrow. And my friends, that regret always grows. Number 4. Breaking silence equals resetting their comfort. My friends, this is where so many people lose everything they've worked for. You see, the moment you break your silence too soon, you reset their comfort. It's like giving them a soft pillow after they threw you out into the cold. You might think you're reminding them of your love, of your presence, but what you're really doing is whispering, "I'm still here waiting for you." And once they know that, there is no urgency, no longing, no regret. Why would they feel the sting of losing you when you just proved they never lost you at all? Think about a fire alarm, folks. The first time it rings, it shakes the whole house. Everyone jumps, everyone pays attention. But if someone turns it off too quickly before the danger has passed, what happens? People relax. They sit back down. They feel safe again. That is exactly what breaking silence too early does. Your absence is the alarm. It rattles them, makes them uneasy, forces them to wonder. But if you silence that alarm with a message or a call, you tell them, "Relax. There's no danger of losing me. I'm still around." And just like that, the urgency vanishes. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Regret, longing, and reflection are born from discomfort. If you comfort them too soon, they will never come to that consciousness. Your silence must stay long enough for them to feel the pain of your absence. Otherwise, they go right back into denial. They tell themselves, "They still want me. They still care. I don't need to change. I don't need to chase." And the cycle continues, with you giving and them taking. Picture it like a chess game. You step back, you stop playing, and for the first time they have to stare at the empty board. They start to panic. Why did the game stop? Why aren't they moving? Their mind races, searching for answers. But the moment you break silence, it's like placing your piece back on the board and saying, "Don't worry, I'm still here to play." Suddenly, the tension is gone. The urgency is gone. They're comfortable again because you've reassured them without meaning to. And I know the thought creeps in. Maybe if I reach out first, they'll finally realize what they lost. Maybe if I show them I still care, they'll appreciate it. But, my friends, it never works that way. They won't appreciate what you give too easily. Human nature resists comfort that isn't earned. In fact, the easier it is to get, the less value it holds. By breaking silence, you give away your value for free. And when something costs nothing, it means nothing. Think of your silence like a shadow. As long as you hold it, they're aware of it. They see it out of the corner of their eye, and it unsettles them. They know something is there, something they can't fully reach. But the second you break it, the shadow disappears, and they breathe easy again. That's what you cannot allow. You cannot give them the comfort of certainty before regret has done its work. So what do you do instead? You hold the silence. You let them sit in the unease. You let their comfort erode until all they have left are questions. That discomfort is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. Because discomfort breeds realization, and realization breeds regret. And regret, my friends, is the fuel that drives them back to you. Breaking silence resets their comfort, but holding silence resets the balance of power. It forces them to see what life feels like without you. It forces them to recognize that your presence was not guaranteed. It was a gift. And gifts are only cherished once they're gone. Stay calm, stay disciplined, and don't give them the easy way out. They need to feel the absence. They need to feel the discomfort. Only then will the regret take root. And when it does, they will chase you, not because you reminded them, but because silence made them realize what they lost. Write this in the comments right now. No comfort given. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because your silence is not weakness. It is the discomfort that transforms their comfort into regret. And that regret is what will always bring them back. Number 5. When they replay memories on loop. My friends, this is the stage where silence begins to do its deepest work, the moment when they start replaying memories on a loop. At first, your silence is confusing to them. They expect you to call, to text, to chase, like you always did. But when that doesn't happen, the mind begins to wander. And when the mind wanders, it doesn't move forward, it circles backward. It revisits what was, again and again, until those old moments become louder than the present. This is the psychology of rumination, and silence is what triggers it. Think about how the human mind works. We are wired to repeat unresolved experiences. If something feels unfinished, the brain loops it, searching for closure that never comes. This is why silence is so powerful. It denies closure. It leaves them with dangling threads, with unanswered questions. They start to remember the way you looked at them, the sound of your laughter, the things you said when no one else was listening. They replay those moments, not once, but hundreds of times, each repetition making the memory stronger, not weaker. And the irony is, the very person who rejected you is now trapped in the same mental loop you once were. Picture it like a song stuck in their head. They didn't choose it, they didn't want it, but it plays anyway, over and over. That's how your absence works. Silence plants a tune in their mind, and the melody is you. They'll be at work, pretending to focus, when suddenly a memory of you flashes. They'll be scrolling through their phone, and without warning, they remember a conversation you had months ago. They'll be lying in bed at night, and the quiet only amplifies the images of you. Silence doesn't erase memories. It amplifies them until they echo in every corner of their thoughts. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your silence drags their unconscious into the light. All the small things they ignored when you were there. The kindness, the presence, the way you made them feel. They now notice with painful clarity. They can't escape it because silence is not just a lack of noise. It's a mirror that shows them everything they overlooked. And I know you might wonder, but what if they don't think about me? What if they just move on? My friends, people may distract themselves for a while, but distraction is not freedom. It's only delay. When the world quiets down, when they're alone, when there's no one to impress, that's when your silence strikes. That's when the memories return with full force, and the more they fight them, the more powerful those memories become. This is the nature of rumination. The mind always circles back to what it cannot resolve. Let me give you a story. Imagine someone walking through a house they once lived in. At first, they're just passing by, but then a familiar smell hits them, or they see an old photo on the wall. Suddenly, every memory floods back. The dinners, the laughter, even the arguments. They can't stop it. That's exactly what happens in their mind when you stay silent. You become that house they once lived in, and no matter how far they travel, silence keeps guiding them back through the front door. So, understand this clearly. Silence doesn't make them forget you. It makes them remember you more. It locks them in a cycle of replaying what was, of comparing the warmth they once had to the coldness they feel now. And the longer you hold your silence, the stronger those loops become. Each replay of memory is another drop of regret filling their cup until it eventually overflows. Stay calm, my friends. Stay silent and let the psychology of rumination do its work. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to prove anything. Their own mind will betray them. Their own memories will become your allies. And in time, they won't just think of you. They'll miss you in ways they can't even put into words. Write this in the comments right now. They remember me. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because the silence you hold today will become the loop of memories that brings them back tomorrow. Number 6. Silence turns into a weapon of comparison. My friends, here is where silence sharpens into its sharpest edge: comparison. When you step back, when you refuse to chase, they may try to replace you. It's almost predictable. They go searching, running from the discomfort you left behind, reaching for distractions to numb the ache. They convince themselves, I'll find someone better, someone easier, someone who makes me forget. But this is where silence becomes your weapon, because every new person they run to becomes a mirror, and in that mirror they see you. They measure, they compare, and again the replacements fail. Think of it like tasting watered-down wine after once drinking the richest vintage. At first, they'll try to convince themselves that it's fine, that it's good enough, but their palate knows the truth. Their body remembers. That's how memory works. It doesn't erase itself simply because something new appears. And your silence makes sure of that. If you were still chasing, still messaging, still available, they could use that comfort to prop themselves up, to tell themselves you were still an option, but your silence denies them that safety net. And because you're gone, every new experience is stacked against the one thing they no longer have: you. Psychology explains it well. The brain operates by contrast. We understand hot because we know cold. We understand light because we've seen darkness. In the same way, they recognize the truth of your value because they now sit with people who lack it. Carl Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. You transformed them, even if they pretended not to notice. And now, when they meet others, they don't feel that same spark, that same transformation. And instead of moving on, their mind drags them back to you again and again through the weapon of comparison. Picture it, folks. They're sitting across from someone new. The conversation flows, but it's shallow. They laugh, but it doesn't echo the way your laughter did. The silence in the car after the date feels heavier because it lacks the comfort you used to give. The touches feel mechanical, the connection forced, and while they try to pretend otherwise, inside the mind is comparing, measuring, tallying up differences they can't ignore. Every new person they meet isn't freeing them from you, it's chaining them tighter to the memory of you. Here's the irony. The harder they chase replacements, the more your silence haunts them. They thought running into someone else's arms would erase you, but instead, your absence makes you loom larger. You become the standard, the unspoken benchmark against which everyone else fails. That's the hidden power of silence. It magnifies you, it preserves you, it makes sure they can't escape the imprint you left. And I know you may think, but what if they actually find someone better? What if silence doesn't work and I lose them forever? My friends, let me tell you something with clarity. They may find different, but they won't find you. Uniqueness cannot be replaced, and your silence only proves that truth louder. The universe doesn't duplicate souls. They might chase for comfort, for distraction, but sooner or later they'll feel the hollowness. They'll see the cracks. They'll realize that what they thought was freedom was only escape, and that escape always ends. So hold steady. Do not be the one to break. Do not rob them of the weapon your silence has placed in their mind. Let them chase. Let them search. Let them stumble, because the deeper they go looking, the clearer it becomes that the standard you set is irreplaceable. And when they finally admit it to themselves, the regret will hit them harder than anything you could have said. Silence is not just absence. It is comparison. It is the echo that makes every new voice sound weaker. It is the shadow that makes every new light dimmer. And it is the reminder that what they lost can't be replicated. Stay calm. Stay disciplined. Stay silent. In the end, the weapon of comparison always cuts in your favor. Write this in the comments right now. They can't replace me. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because silence will make them search the world for your reflection, only to discover the truth. They'll never find another you. Number 7. The mind games you avoid by staying silent. My friends, this is where silence becomes more than strength. It becomes strategy. When you chase, you hand them the power. You show them that their approval is your oxygen, that their response dictates your worth. And once they know this, the game is no longer equal. They can pull back, and you'll come forward. They can breadcrumb you, and you'll settle for crumbs. That is how chasing puts you in their control. But when you go silent, truly silent, the entire game flips. Suddenly, they are no longer playing with you. They are chasing shadows, not a person. And that chase is maddening. Think of it like this. When you chase, you become predictable. Every message you send, every call you make, confirms their control. They know where you stand. They know you'll come back. They know they can ignore you today and still find you waiting tomorrow. But silence turns you into a ghost they cannot catch. You are present in their mind, but absent in reality. They can feel you, but they cannot touch you. And that, my friends, is where their grip begins to slip. Carl Jung wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." When you chase, you help them avoid that confrontation. They never have to face themselves because you keep distracting them with your presence. But when you go silent, they are forced to sit with the emptiness, and in that emptiness their mind begins its own cruel game. They wonder why you vanished. They wonder what you're doing. They wonder who has your attention now. Their imagination punishes them far more than your words ever could. Picture it like a chessboard. When you chase, you're moving your pieces blindly, reacting to every move they make. You're playing defense, and they're in control. But when you go silent, it's as if you've stepped away from the board entirely. They sit there staring, waiting for you to make a move, but none comes, and the longer they wait, the more frustrated they become. They start questioning themselves. They start second-guessing. They begin to play against their own mind, and that's the beauty of silence. It makes them the opponent of their own thoughts. You avoid so many traps by staying silent. You avoid the trap of over-explaining yourself. You avoid the trap of begging for validation. You avoid the trap of giving them free attention they didn't earn. And most importantly, you avoid the trap of showing them that you are still waiting. Silence protects you from all of these games because it takes you off the board. You are no longer a pawn moving at their command. You are the absence they can't predict, the ghost they can't control. And yes, I know it feels tempting to reach out. You think, if I just say something, maybe I'll get closure, maybe I'll get a reaction, maybe they'll finally see my worth. But remember this, reactions are not respect. Closure handed to you is not closure earned. True power comes when they realize on their own what you meant to them. And silence is the only way to force that realization. So let them chase the shadows you've left behind. Let their mind spin stories about where you are and who you're with. You don't have to feed their imagination. It will feed itself. The more you withhold, the more they'll crave. The more you vanish, the more they'll search. And eventually they will chase, not because you asked them to, but because their mind left them no choice. Stay calm, stay patient, stay silent. You don't need to play their games when silence rewrites the rules. Write this in the comments right now. Silence flips power. Press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because when you master silence, you stop being the one who chases, and you become the one who is forever chased in their mind. Number 8. They will circle back, but only if you stay silent. My friends, let us bring this full circle. Silence is not just a tactic, it is a promise. It plants seeds deep inside their mind, seeds of regret, of curiosity, of longing. At first, those seeds are invisible. They may even act as if they don't care, as if your absence doesn't bother them. They may run to distractions, to other people, to empty routines meant to fill the void. But time has a way of watering those seeds. And slowly, almost without them realizing, silence begins to grow inside them. They start to feel the ache, the wondering, the pull they once ignored. And this is why I say to you, they will circle back, but only if you stay silent. Think about it. Absence creates weight. It forces them to live without the comfort they once took for granted. And as days pass, that weight becomes heavier. At first, they think they've escaped you, but then memories creep back in. Comparisons start to sting, and questions they can't answer keep them awake at night. They tell themselves, I moved on, but then something as small as a song, a place, or even a scent triggers the thought of you. And when it does, regret floods in like a tide they cannot fight. That is the power of silence, folks. It does the work for you. But here's the condition. If you break too early, if you send the message or make the call, you dig up the soil before the roots can take hold. You pull the seed out before it's ready to bloom. And when you do that, they feel relief, not regret. They think, I never lost them. They're still here, waiting, and that comfort kills the longing before it has a chance to grow. The key is patience. The key is discipline. Only by holding silence do you give regret the time it needs to take full control of their mind. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Silence forces them to look inside. At first, they dream of replacements, of escapes, of distractions, but over time, they wake to the reality that no one measured up, that nothing felt the same, that what they dismissed was the very thing they needed. That awakening doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly until one day they can't ignore it anymore. And when that day comes, they circle back, not out of pity, not out of convenience, but out of longing. Picture it like a boomerang. You let go, you release, and for a while it seems to fly far away, almost disappearing. But the nature of a boomerang is to return. That's what your silence does. It allows them to fly off, to think they're free, only to realize that the curve always bends back. And when it does, it lands right where it started, with you. So, my friends, don't sabotage yourself. Don't dig up the soil. Don't silence the alarm. Let the process unfold. Your silence is not empty. It is alive, working in ways you cannot see. If you trust it, if you hold it, if you let it breathe, they will return. It may take time, but longing always outlasts pride, and regret always outlasts denial. Stay calm, stay disciplined, stay silent, because silence is the only force strong enough to bend the path back in your direction, and when they circle back, they will not see the person who begged, who chased, who waited. They will see the one who mastered silence, the one who carried strength, the one who became unforgettable. And so, my friends, here's the truth we've uncovered. Silence is not weakness, it is strength, it is discipline, it is the very thing that turns regret into a seed that grows inside their mind. If you break too soon, you lose it all. But if you hold the line, they will circle back, because silence is unforgettable. Stay calm, stay in control, and trust the process. If this message hit home, press that like button, subscribe for more wisdom, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, remember, your silence is your power.